I'm about to make a juice. So I'm very excited because I got a new juicer. I got the Kuvings, what is it? Kuvings Auto 10. Prior to that, I've had Omega VSJ 843 for 8 years. I fell in love with that juicer and it was great at the time. Like I even was hesitant to get the Auto 10. There's a YouTuber named Brandon Ahmaud. Somehow I found Brandon Ahmaud's channel and he really sold me. So he got that 30%, or I used his 30% off code during Black Friday. And hopefully he got a nice kickback from that. And so I've also been trying out some of the juices that he does. And it's interesting because all of my years of juicing, I've never juiced a pomelo. I don't know if I've had one before, but I feel like I probably have. It's been several years. So the juice that he does, it's pomelo, pomegranate, and key lime. If anyone wonders if you see this and don't know what it is, because I know a lot of times like when people come into my home, my apartment, they're always like, what is that? Is it like a giant coffee maker? No, it's a water distiller. I use distilled water sometimes when I'm fasting, doing a cleanse. Sometimes I just drink distilled water anyway, and I remineralize it. Look, we're going on a whole tangent here, but it's a method of purifying the water and taking all the nasties out of the good old public water supply of Houston's trace mineral drops. And I also use distilled water, you know, if I'm making a spray or something for my hair, whether it was loose, natural, or locked. Distilled water, you know, it won't grow a whole lot of bacteria in it as quickly as like tap water. One thing that's kind of sad for me about the Auto 10 is that juicing for me became, especially with that Omega VSJ, you had to cut everything in small pieces. You had to continually feed everything into the juicer. You had to alternate between soft things and hard things, and really, and I would turn it into this whole sort of like meditation, a whole experience. I'm playing music and I've got some incense lit now. I just do a little yoga first, meditation, whatever, like and just get in the zone and make my juice and really infuse it with love and positive energy. I'm dancing all around the kitchen to the fruit. Like, yes, oh, you are beautiful, thank you, you know, having gratitude and all of those things. And with the Auto 10, you just put everything into the juicer and you can kind of walk away. So I need to, I guess, develop and figure out what's my new ritual when it comes to that. These from We. And this is what a pomelo looks like in case you haven't seen one. There's a lot of different varieties of pomelo. This is the one I chose. So let me go ahead and dig in here and start making a mess with this pomegranate. I know I don't wash my hands like 2 or 3 times already. I gotta do it again. Because you know we gotta wash our hands. Don't trust anyone. First of all, do not trust anyone that walks in your freaking kitchen, didn't wash their hands, and grabs the refrigerator door. Because what type of household did you grow up in to do something like that? Sick. Sick. I wonder what this means. Speaking of, you know, having intentions about food and things, because sometimes in other cultures, they haven't lost that sort of intentionality about food and blessing food or putting a prayer over it, or, you know, maybe this is just a brand name. Maybe this just says like Miss John Smith Pomelos or whatever, but I think it's dope. And since I don't know, I'm going to believe that it's something positive. And, you know, they're saying like, thank you for your purchase. Peace, prosperity, and blessings. May you auspicious blessing. See, I gotta play with my food. I gotta talk to it, play with it, have a little fun. The pomelo, as I'm cutting it, has a very like pungent smell to it. Not a typical citrus type of smell. According to Brandon Ahmaud, well, not just according to him, but I saw one video where he was talking about eating these. You could dry them, but the problem with that is that a lot of recipes, he said, will contain a lot of sugar. I haven't personally looked up any recipes for how to work with these rinds. I am very guilty, man, of just saving pulp and saving rinds of things so many times over the years, and then I don't actually end up using it for anything. Shame on me. Sometimes if I do like nut milk and I do like almond milk, I'll use it for a mask, exfoliator. Like, I like that, I love it. But man, There's been so much pulp that I saved over the years and then ended up throwing out. I need to look into, I've heard of, maybe there's places that you can go. Texas, I'm in Texas, and Texas is not really big on conservation of anything or the environment, but one of my friends in New York was like, he would take his, like his, what am I trying to say? Compostable, anything that was compostable, right? He would take it, and I think that he actually was taking it to like a food co-op so he could exchange that and get a credit towards some of his groceries too. But it was a way of like not being so wasteful, you know, with fresh fruit scraps. Personally, like I even stopped recycling since I've been in Texas, because I did, when I first got here, and I was so like, I don't know, recycling was one of my things. When I talk to my mom, sometimes we get on the phone, she's like, yeah, I was just cleaning out my recycling, like getting her recycling together, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I don't recycle anymore. And I know I've heard all those things like, oh, well, sometimes it does get recycled, sometimes it doesn't. I'm trying not to let this pomegranate, because pomegranate gets crazy. Pomegranate will go everywhere, all over. Where was I? Let's ramble. Just stick with me a little bit. I'll see how many views this video gets, or like how much engagement or interaction. It'll be good for somebody. Someone will watch it all the way through, you know, even if it's just me in the future. But yeah, man. So this isn't how I would normally get into a pomegranate, like I said, but I don't want to be cleaning all the wall, and I mean, y'all know how pomegranate can get. It's not John Kohler, it's not growing your greens, which I've been rocking with him for over 10 years. I think he was the person who convinced me to buy the VSJ 843 those 8 years ago, and he's still in the game. I love to see that. Yeah, he still looks young, hasn't aged a day. So good for him, you know. Good for anyone that's doing anything just to, not so much to prolong life. If you're not into that, you don't have to prolong your life, but we don't have to make, our life here doesn't need to be about suffering. You know what I mean? And the standard American diet, the SAD diet that's spreading globally, that's what it is. It's about misery, you know, getting you high, getting you so much sugar, high on sugar, so much sugar that your body cannot handle. And don't get it because I'm susceptible. The number one way to be susceptible to something, or more susceptible, is to claim that you're not. So good. Oh, that was good. I feel like fruit punch in my mouth. An explosion. You know, I gotta wash my hands again. Let's go. So yeah. All right. So we got everything. One whole pomelo, one pomegranate. I have a feeling that pomelo is gonna make a lot of juice. And you can see I was attempting to do a rod set on my locks for the first time. Didn't come out the way I was expected. I had the whole full granny pack, you know, where it was like that tight cap around my head of curls or whatever. So right now I'm trying to stretch it out, band it a little bit as we juice. This juicer is pretty noisy, so let me just get to it. But this is night, dang, what night is this? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I have 3 nights to go, so this is night 27. And I just started thinking, damn, I've cried every night. Well, I will have cried every night for 30 nights. No, it's technically not, you know, I didn't have an emotional breakdown and cry. But what's the effect? There has to be some kind of effect of that, right? Crying every single night for 30 nights. Especially if you're like me, I'm a fucking G. I don't cry. I sat down and I thought about it, and I was like, damn, you know, just I tried to think of 5 times I cried as an adult. And I came up with, and by no means, you know, that's excluding opportunities for happy tears. That's excluding all those were not the only two deaths that occurred, you know, in my life. I felt like I had to even feel like those 2 people were worthy tears, right? Because just to be weak, you know, that long to cry. Yeah. This is an experience for real. Yeah, off the honey in your eyes. the Nesut Nectar in your eyes. You will laugh, you will cry. So be prepared. It's a cool little roller coaster. Now I'm up to 32, you know what I mean? 32 cries in my life. I see a lot of things on social media, people cracking jokes like, oh, remember when your mom punched you in the head and did this? Or you know what I mean? You got a whooping and you felt like this and you felt like that. And like, we make jokes about trauma and things like that, but it's not a black thing. It's not a white thing. I had plenty of white friends who like shit, or of all races. It's not a race thing. It's not a black woman thing. It's not a emotionally suppressed black woman thing. It's not an angry black woman thing. It's not a weak black woman thing. You know what I mean? It's just humanity. It's what I'm feeling right now, man. So Nesut Nectar helped me to allow myself to be so-called weak. And be comfortable with that. Be comfortable with myself. Being vulnerable, you know. Being more vulnerable. I went to see the Book of Clarence. And man, I was in the theater in the last scene bawling. And like I spoke to a couple people, you know, just different people I was talking to. They're like, girl, yes, like I cried too, you know what I mean? Even some guys were like, yeah, man, I got emotional. Like it was deep especially at the end. I don't want to give any spoilers for anyone, but I just remember, like, even in that moment of breaking down, like I said, I'm not a crier. If I'm in a movie like that and I feel very emotional to the point of like wanting to cry, I will always suppress it. It will be like this one little weak ass tear will make it, like my eyes might fill up with tear and I'm like, pull it back, and one little weak ass tear would make its way right to the corner of my eye, right, and not even fall. Like, I'm a gangster. What you talk about? So, and I was in there, like, it was just falling. It was falling freely. Like, the tears was coming out, like how they come out with the nectar, like spilling out from all throughout my eyes. And I was like, even smiling a little bit because it felt good to release that emotion. Yes, it's trivial. I get it. It's a movie, but at the same time, that movie, y'all should go see that. My personal opinion, like, cause it was a spiritual experience on a lot of messages. There's so much in that movie. Crying every night for 30 nights, it'll do something to you. That's all I could say. Peace. But I was doing myself a great disservice by not being able to cry. Not being able to. I'm in a safe place, a safe space. I'm protected and I could be vulnerable and I could go ahead and cry. And then just being unable to do it because you've trained yourself, like I was physically unable to cry. It's good to be overwhelmed by emotion and be able to release it as tears. Because there's so many ways we could be overwhelmed by emotion. And if you've learned, you've trained yourself, or you've been trained not to cry, like, crying is the easy way, I've discovered, right? Something very simple, putting honey in my eyes and crying, you cry and the tears just flow. And off the Nesut Nectar, the tears just flow like that. And it was very cleansing, very purifying. I remember just being in the theater and I felt, and like, you know, tears were running. I was crying profusely, and so I was tasting my own tears, and I was like, wow, you know, I don't know if it's a result of the nectar too, but I was like, and I actually came home and did some research because there's different types of tears, right? Some tears are saltier, some tears are more alkaline and different things, and that happens for different reasons. And I got into sort of learning a little bit all about that, which is very interesting. I can't help but staring at these pomegranates that went to the floor. I want to clean them up so bad, but I have to finish. It helped me to be free in a way that I never expected. I feel lighter. I feel happier. And you know, that's part of the spiritual work with this. And it was something that I never expected. So that is my testimonial. That's my testimony. It's Sunday. It's my testimony. All right. Boys, it's probably even harder for men. I can admit that, and I'm sorry. I am so sorry that y'all are taught that you cannot cry. But maybe, you know, with tools like this, you can start that healing process. I'm not affiliated with this brand or this company at all. I'm just sharing my experience with you guys. And of course, this isn't medical advice, and I guess it's not psychological or mental health advice, behavioral health advice either. Just sharing with you my experience. Something I watched or read, I know it's been years ago. and they was talking about trauma and how every human goes through trauma and it's just part of our experience. And I mentioned Brother Panic in my last video. Oh, I forgot to put, see, everything happens for a reason, y'all. I forgot to put this washer back on here when I cleaned the juicer yesterday. Lori and I done smashed the pomegranate and that's okay. That's all right, y'all. Through trauma. And yeah, Panic talks about this too, is like in philosophy, in different philosophy that he taught from, he had studied and taught from, that trauma is necessary. And we have to embrace the fact that we have gone through trauma. They said consider birth, like just consider being born. Birth is traumatic. Birth is the first trauma that we experience. Being separated from like smacking you on the ass and trying to clean you up and doing all this sticking shit up your nose and vaccinating you. We ain't starting with the good Lord. Let me get off of here before I start preaching on Sunday. Good God. But if you're vaccinated, hey. But yeah, long story short, we're all dealing with trauma. And you better watch the ones that try to deny it. What Brandon Ahmaud say? That's fire. It's good. It is really good. I have to taste. I need to taste. I didn't taste the pomelo to see how it tastes outside of the juice, but I'm getting a strong, like a citrus vibe from it, but it's very mellow. Like it's not super acidic. It's not super sour. It's not super sweet, but has a nice kind of fresh taste. I believe that a pomelo is like the predecessor to a grapefruit, and I get that kind of vibe from it. It's very nice.